want all our children. We have 12.5 million in primary school, 3 million in high school, all public schools to have the same uniform.
The Kenya Parents Association recently proposed a similar school uniform for both primary and secondary school. If the same school uniform proposal is adopted, it will be rolled out from January 2019 if implemented. I spoke to a child development specialist on how effective this will be.
Hello, my name is Jennifer, a child development specialist and child protection policy expert. The proposal looks good. It looks good because of the argument that it's going to increase improve the textile industry in Kenya, and it's going to ensure that parents are not exploited by manufacturers or head teachers. However, it has a huge negative side of it. For instance, the proposal says that the only difference between the uniforms will be the school logo. That in itself is a challenge, because how are you going to differentiate children from different schools? And it's very easy for perpetrators or child abusers to come through and pretend to be students, because no one can differentiate them. One school, and it would be very difficult to say it was someone from this school who performed the act or abused a child. So it would be very, very difficult. Number two, it will be how are we going to hold schools accountable? Over the recent past, we have seen an increase in a lot of school unrest. You've seen teachers acting badly. How are we going to hold schools accountable because of their actions? Because if all the schools are wearing the same uniform, it's very easy for children to say, no, it's people from this school that came to our school and they're the ones who did that. And also for teachers, how they're going to say, no, those are not our students who are doing that particular act. It's students from other schools. So how are we going to hold accountability? And number three, on safety measures, a uniform is an identity. It's a form of identity for our students, and it's a way of identifying. And because of that, it becomes as a way of protecting. How are we going to know students and non-students? It's very easy someone who is not in school to put on that uniform and they say they are students and they're not students. So we'll not be able to know the exact number of children who are out of school, because all of them are putting on uniform, and you'll not be able to hold which school are you in. And they can come up with some funny logos. Chakwerere High School or something. That is not easy. But right now you're able to identify this child is not in school, but because they don't have uniform. That's how we identify children who are not in school. So for me, as much as it looks very good on paper, but in reality is a huge child protection issue, and it's going to bring more challenges than we are facing right now. Right now we know the number of rape cases are very high. The number of corporal punishment is really high, and with this it's going to be worse.
The cost will come down, the prices will come down. And even those parents who don't actually afford, the government can subsidize the prices.
To break away the cartels, as argued, this can be done through creating a one-stop shop with different materials and similar pricing.
I think we can do that without really imposing uniforms. We can have now the same thing the government did about one stop for books. They have one distributor, the government has a single distributor. They can have the same thing. The distributor is the same, but they have different books. It's the same thing. We can have the same distributor. We can say, for example, is it Rivertex is going to be providing uniform. There are a number of schools that put on blue shirts, so they could be providing all the blue shirts, and then the only thing maybe the school can do is provide the logo, and then you can have red shirts, you can have the checked trousers or gray trousers or whatever. But if that is, and then the government can be able to have a regulation, the amount of money a child supposed to pay for uniform. It should not be varied. It's not like in one school is 200 shillings and in another school is 500 shillings. The government can come up with standards. This is the quality of material you want for all schools. This is the price that these students can pay, and this is where you can be able to buy. And that way it is coming up with a solution that really does not put our children at risk.
According to the Ministry of Education, the proposal will be reviewed by all stakeholders before being fully implemented.
Parents have raised that, but we'll also be listening to what the teachers say, what the school sponsors in some cases, because there are churches that sponsor schools. So we'll be listening to all the stakeholders before we make a definite decision.
It's not going to be effective. It's not going to be effective. Yes, it can be effective on paper, but it's going to pose a child protection risk. It's a good idea, but not a wise idea in terms of we already have so many issues in our schools right now, and we cannot afford to increase them with this school with this same similar uniform. So I don't think it's a wise idea.
The idea of similar uniform arguments arose from the directive of having all school buses painted yellow.
The bus issue is different because the bus issue was to ensure that children are safe on the road, and motorists are able to identify school buses and to take measures to safeguard children who are in the bus. This is not the same way. It's not the same thing. You cannot, if you want to put similar uniforms for children, that means you can also put perpetrators. It's very difficult to see someone painting their vehicle yellow because they want to be identified as a school bus. Because if it's identified as a school bus, you'll have to have a school. So it's very difficult, but for you, it's very easy for someone who is like, for myself, I'm not a student, to put on uniform and say that I'm a student, and I go abusing children. So for me, I don't think that you cannot even compare. One was to protect children, and this other one is not to protect children.
What could be the best solution other than similar uniform proposal?
So the way forward is look for other ways to cut off the cartels. Like I said before, ensure that you come up with standards. This is the type of material for the uniform, the quality, the cost a child is supposed to pay for uniform, because that's a huge one, and then where can they get these supplies from? If they want to say it's Rivertex, let it be Rivertex, that all supplies, school supplies should come from Rivertex if they want to do that. But giving the same uniform, that's not a wise idea.
Child participation is key. As the similar uniform debate is on, the ministry, the Parents Association, and other stakeholders should ensure that children have a forum to contribute their views.
It's a good thing that the ministry is saying that it's going to bring stakeholders. As you bring stakeholders, bring children also, and children will tell you it's not a good idea, because child participation is very, very relevant in when you're talking things about them, because right now it's just adults speaking about themselves up here. But have they consulted what children want? Parents are saying, teachers are saying, what are children saying? So it will be very important that the ministry also consults children if they want a similar uniform.